1 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get us started and we'll go from there. So hello, everybody. Welcome to our first Poll Everywhere feature training. And today's feature is going to be the brand sparkly new in-person attendance feature. So if the slide will move forward, there we go. So introducing your trainers. Eric, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. Eric Stewart here. I'm a customer success manager with Pull Everywhere. My main role as a customer success manager here at Pull Everywhere is things like account onboarding, live trainings like we're on today, and of course, customer relations. I'm always the guy on the inside and here to advocate and make noise when you need me to. I've been with the company about 4 years, and I'm really excited for us to demo in-person attendance for you folks today. So I'm going to mute myself and take a sip of water. Sam, over to you.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, hi everybody, I'm Samantha Fullen. I'm also a customer success manager, just like Eric. I've been here for, oh my gosh, almost 7 years at this point. So same role as Eric. Any of you that are on a managed account, you may actually have a different success manager and you'll want to reach out to them for your stuff, but we are also available as resources. Anybody that is not on a managed account, if you're interested in that, you can always reach out to support and speak to them and we can get those conversations started. But you've also always got support available to you, which I'm going to go ahead and jump over to this one here just to show you what you need. Speaking of support for general questions, if you have a question for us, we've got 2 ways you can ask. You can either use the Zoom Q&A chat, which there should be a Q&A tab over there for you to put questions in. Eric is going to be fielding those largely. If there's something that I can answer live, Eric will help me out with that. Otherwise, he will also answer you asynchronously. So if you have a question, you can pop it in that chat. Or if you want to, you can go to pollev.com/jackal, and that is my Q&A activity. You can ask questions on there, and that's the internal Poll Everywhere activity. So you will actually be able to see everybody else's responses as well, upvote or downvote them to move them up and down on the board. So we'll get going on there. So this is the actual support info. So everybody should have access to most of this. If you happen to be on a free account, some of the support is not available. So the phone support is not technically available, but all the rest of it is. So we've got our main support page, support.polleverywhere.com. The self-guided training, that's only a few accounts have that on the managed side. So that's going to be the training.polleverywhere.com. If you have SSO, you've got this. Domestic support. So if you want to reach out, everybody has access to this part. Support@polleverywhere.com. Our support folks are more than happy to help you out. That's helping out with the product, but they can also answer any questions you've got regarding this in-person attendance, or any general questions you've got. The phone support is available there. It says 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, and then there's the international support number as well. I don't actually know what the full coverage is, but it ends up being something like 16 to 18 out of the 24 hours of the day. So most of the time, we've got somebody here to help you if you're running into anything. So just a quick overview of what we can expect for the agenda. So introduction to in-person attendance. So I'm just going to give a very brief overview of what to expect and then how to use it. So I'll go over accessing it from the dashboard, how to enable it, and then adding a location to it. I'll also show you what the participant experience looks like. So what can you expect participants to be seeing? And then we'll have some time for Q&A. This is honestly very likely not going to take an hour, but this way it'll also leave us plenty of time for Q&A. And we should be good to go. Oh, I see some questions on there. Eric, you got?
Yeah, thank you, Lynn, for posting. I was just about to put that there. For anybody that may need it, the response page for Sam is pollev.com/jackal. That's JAC, K as in Kim, A as in Apple, L as in Lion.
Like the animal. So, all right. Or if you're a Family Guy fan, you know, there's always that joke too. So, all right, so just a very brief overview. How does the in-person attendance work? So the first thing you're going to do is you'll create and enable a geofence, and then your participants will check in with their location. So they have to enable the location on their device. Usually if they're responding by the phone, the phone's already doing that anyways. But they'll check in with their location, and then they'll be able to respond to your activities. They'll still be able to respond even if they're not in the geofence, but then when you pull all of this information into reporting, we'll also have a way to report on who was in the geofence when they responded. So just a very brief overview, how to enable it. I'm just going to skim through this part and then I'm going to show you how to do it. So you'll first go to your activities page, select attendance management. You're going to toggle the geolocation slider to on, and then you'll either select an existing location or add a new one, and then you'll name it. So let me show you what that's going to actually look like. Like my window. Oh, hold on. My window's down in another page. 1 second. My princess is in another castle. There we go. Okay. You should see also up here the polev.com/jackal is available there as well. So we try to plaster the username all over the place so you know exactly where you need to go to respond. So I'm just going to show you very quickly how to enable it. So you should see if it's available to you, which all managed accounts should have it available right now. It's already enabled. And if you don't see attendance management, which, Eric, can y'all see my cursor? Can you guys see me making a circle right there?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, cool. Just I was like, let me just make sure I'm not doing this just for no reason. So for the attendance management, if you have this here, then it's already enabled on your account. If you don't have it here, please reach out to support and they can help you out there. So you'll first go into the attendance management, you'll click on settings. And right now I have geolocation on, but if I toggle it off, this is what it's going to look like by default. So the first thing you need to do is you turn it on. So rather than turning it on activity by activity, you're turning it on for effectively your session here. You're saying, I want this geofence to be on for all of my activities that I'm presenting right now. People need to be checked in, and it will track the geolocation for each of the activities as well. So if, for example, somebody checks in, they put in a response, and then they walk away, it'll show up in the report that their location was in a different spot for that. Oh, I'm going kind of fast. I am so sorry. Let me slow it down a little bit.
Again, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. The caffeine is really working today. Okay. Sorry. So from your main activities page, you'll be looking at the attendance management right here, which is in the top right. If you do not have it there, please reach out to support because you may, if you have a free account, this will not be showing up for you. So then I'm going to click on settings. It's opening up a bunch of new tabs. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So you'll want to have your geolocation turned on. On this one, I actually have a location turned on already, but I'm going to go ahead and add a new one. I'll just show you what it looks like to add a new one. Actually, here, I'll just delete that one. There we go. Okay. So now there's no geolocation. I have no geofence whatsoever. So to add a new one, I'm going to click add location and it's going to give me a map. And here it's going to have me enter in an address. So for this one, oh, okay, well, it's just going to show you all where I live. That's fine. So I'm right here. It's because I have location enabled on my device, so it knows where I'm at. But I can put it anywhere else. You can have up to 10 geofences. So if you're going to be presenting in multiple locations, say one conference room B, and then, down the hall, you'll be presenting in the dining hall or something like that. You can set up separate geofences for them and name it. So for this one, it doesn't have to be where I'm at right now either. I can set these up in advance. So I can say, you know what, I want to, I'm not sure where this is, but I'll come here, you. Click and drag it. And I'll go right there. So maybe that's where I want my geofence to be. In my case, I'm actually just going to put it right back where I am because this will let me show you what participants are going to see. I'm actually going to put it on one of two ways so I can show you what it looks like when they're out of the geofence as well. So this one's across the street. This is at my library. And then I have a check-in location that I can set right here. So I have 100 feet, 150 feet, 200 or 250 feet. So I can make it a really big geofence, which I usually recommend making it a little bit bigger if you can, just because that allows for a little bit of margin of error. People whose location on their phones may not be as accurate, for example, or if you were like me, you played Pokemon Go, you used to spoof stuff because the GPS had your character all over the place because the GPS can't always approximate the location. So depending on where you're at, totally use your own judgment on this, but you can set that geofence up to 250 feet. And this one, I'm going to name it library. I'll click save. There we go. And now I have the library added as my active geofence. Now, if I add more, I will say this, the more locations that I have, all of those geofences will be active at the same time. So I'm not activating one geofence at a time. Either I have all of them on or I have all of them off. So if I add another location here, it's going to give it a second to find me again. It shouldn't take long. There we go. I'm going to give it 200 feet and I'll call this one home and click save. This way I have something where I can show you what each side of the experience is going to look like. So now I have both of these. If I activate my activity now, which should already be active actually, it's going to, no Chrome, it's going to show both of the fences active. So if somebody is actually over across the street at the library and they happen to know that that's one of my geofence locations, they could be at the library and can respond to me. They're still in my geofence, but I'll still be able to see in reporting which geofence they were in. So for here, I've got both of these set up. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my activities. And because I have this one already activated, I don't need to do really anything else, but I'll show you what this looks like on the participant side of things. My activity is already activated. I've got everything going. And then from the participant side, you'll see this. The presenters requested you check into their present location. And it says your participation may not be counted if you continue without checking in. So I can say check in, but for example, if my device is saying that I'm not in the perimeter, which I believe I should be able to show you what that looks like here in a moment, there will be an option to continue without check-in right here. So people can still respond to your activities, even if it's saying that they're not there. But, you know, for example, if you're using this for attendance proof, for example, you can say, hey, if for whatever reason it says that you're out of the fence and you're not actually out of the fence, then have them maybe take a photo, take a screenshot, and show some proof that they were actually there. So we'll click check-in. So this one's verifying my location right now. It's going to take it a moment because my Mac is slow. Oh, I don't think it was supposed to say content missing, but I'm sorry, y'all. What's going on with my screen right now? Oh, okay. My screen just darkened a lot for some reason on my end. So this part is just a nickname. This is completely separate from the in-person attendance, but I'm going to go ahead and add a nickname here. Just so we know who I am on the reports. I'll click continue and there we go. So now, oh, it was not able to check me in, it looks like. Let me hard refresh. Give me just a moment. Check in. My Chrome might be actually having a hard time with checking me in right now. There it goes. Okay, it just took it a moment. So now it says I'm currently checked in. So I've got a little green check mark and I can go ahead and respond. So I'm going to just put this in here as checked in response. I'll click submit. There we go. And now I'm able to submit it. And it still shows me as being checked in. If I were then, and I'll go ahead and delete the other geofence to get it to kick me out effectively. If I go here and I go to attendance management and I'll delete home. There we go. Now my library is my only active geofence here. Activities have to have registration turned on. Chad, actually not necessarily. So registration is completely separate. So this is totally separate from the registration. I do recommend though, if you're using us for grading in any capacity, definitely turn on registration because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to track who put in what response. And then if you add the other layer of attendance, you still won't be able to tell who it is if they're not registered. So the registration is recommended for actually going ahead and getting the grades, but this is segregated from that. So, all right, so now I've got just my library is my only active geofence. So if I click on here, let me go ahead and refresh this. Back to my home. Oh, it doesn't even have me logged in yet. Ha. So let me log in first. There we go. Now if I go here, now it's going to tell me to check in. And this one's going to should give me an error that I'm not in the location. So there it is. You do not appear to be located in this presenter's designated region. Here's your latitude, longitude. This is probably if you have anybody that's having issues with checking in for whatever reason, if their device is not super precise, have them screenshot this. That way they can, that can be their proof of this is where their device is saying their location is. So I'm going to go ahead and say continue without check-in. I have a little thing up here that says it's unable to check me in. So I know that I'm not actually checked into the geofence, but I can still not checked in response. So I click submit, I can still submit my responses. So it won't completely block me out if my device just happens to, I think maybe older devices, sometimes the GPS is a little imprecise. So, all right, so I'm going to close out of that. And give me one moment here. Minimize that. All right, so that's honestly pretty much it. So now we've got plenty of time for questions. I'm going to go ahead and activate this. We've got a bunch of questions in the QA, and these are great. I do see some questions in the chat. Eric, I see you're typing. Never mind. So Chad, I'm actually going to answer Chad's question live here while Eric's typing that other one. So check-in is an additional process to the registration, correct? So yeah, I definitely understand campus firewall. That's going to be something that as long as the campus firewall doesn't block location services, it should be fine. That's really the biggest thing on this. If you find that it's causing any kinds of problems whatsoever, please reach out to support. These are the use cases that we need to know about, and we'd like to make sure that we are contingent with. I don't know if that was the right word that I just used, but for some reason that's what came out. I apologize. But yes, definitely it is separate. So the registration, you can use, the in-person attendance can be used with or without registration. So the registration is to make sure that they're logged in, to make sure that the right grades are getting attributed to the right people. And the registration, or excuse me, that the check-in for the geofence is completely different. So you could have, for example, an event where you don't want anybody to register. You're just running an event and you've got, hey, I want to make sure that the people that are actually at this event are the ones that are responding, and not somebody, across the state, for example, that happens to be in my session, anything of that sort. And then that way you have the attendance data and you can take a look at it and say, okay, these are the people that were actually there, actually looking at the presentation. And so they're the ones who I want to, but maybe if there's a couple that get in that are not part of the geofence, you can say, I can either remove those answers or just ignore them because they're not relevant for what you were wanting to do for that particular use case. I hope that helped answer it, but let me know if it didn't. Oh
Sam,
my goodness, you're right.
we also have a question about reporting, what that
I
looks like.
just saw that.
Yep.
Yep, I just saw that. That's an excellent question. I apologize that I did not actually go through that. How silly of me. All right, I will cover that now. So I'm going to go back in here. So this is the only one I have right at the moment that's got in-person attendance data on it. So I'm going to select this and I'll click on create report. So I'm going to create the report, and this one, if you're using this for any kind of gradebook export, you're going to be using a gradebook report. So I'll click on gradebook, but I believe pivot table also shows attendance as well. So, but I'm going to click gradebook, I'll click create report. It's going to take it just a moment here. And there we go. I've got all of my folks here have responded. And then when I want to, let's see, this particular account is actually not connected to my Canvas, but you'll see that if it were connected to my Canvas, I would have an export button down here. When I export, it asks for grade or participation when I export. In this case, because nothing is graded, it's just a Q&A activity, I have attendance and participation as columns and not grade. So, but I would be able to export it as attendance. So this one, I have a 100% on attendance because I'm in the location. So I was in the geofence when I responded, but other people don't have anything because I'm pretty sure none of y'all are my neighbors. So everybody's showing as having a 0 on the attendance. Let me show you what this looks like with something that has correctness marked. Let me just make an activity just to show you what this looks like. Testing gradebook plus attendance. I always just do a yes or no. This is just a very basic one. I'll click create and I'm going to go back here. And just when I get ready to go through and actually here, I'm going to do a little sneak thing. bear with me. This is completely separate, but I'm using the permanent link to get a response in. There we go. And then that way, when I actually do the report, it'll have all of the columns there. So now I've got a response on that. I'm going to load everything up here. I'll click create report. Excuse me. I'll click gradebook, create report. There we go. Now I've got this one here, and then, oh goodness. I apologize, y'all. I did not mark anything as correct on that. So let me do that first before it shows the correctness. There we go. Click save. So in order for the grade column to also show up, you need to have correctness marked. That's regardless of whether you're doing the attendance or not. So if I go back to this report and I'll update the report. There we go. So this is what you can expect to see. You'll see a grade column that'll be precluded on who answered or how many did they get correct if you have correctness marked. Then there's the attendance column and the participation column. When you click to export to your LMS, it's going to have an option for grade, attendance, or participation. And that's basically just asking which one of these columns do you want to export to the gradebook. If you want to export multiples, so for example, if you're saying I want to export a grade column and an attendance column, excuse me, if you want to export both of them, you do need to make two separate reports because of the way our LMS integration works. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on that because that is a little bit of a deep dive, but the long and short of it is that you can export the attendance data. So if you were just saying, hey, I have 5 activities I'm going to run a report on, and I want to run an attendance report for this day to give attendance credit, and then I also want to run a correctness report with the actual grade, you could do that separately. Then that way people are being graded on both their attendance and on the grade itself. So what happens when 2 classrooms are in close proximity? Oh, Eric was typing the answer to that one, but I'll go ahead and get this one. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sam. So sorry about that.
So for 2 classrooms in close proximity, I mean, they'll still overlap. And it'll still show you whether or not they were considered in the geofence. If they were in both geofences, then the ideal is that they're only responding to one of those classes so that they're only going to be responding to it. Now, this does mean though that, for example, if you're in lecture hall 1 and lecture hall 2 is right next door, you could absolutely have somebody, if there's 2 overlapping geofences, if they're large enough. I don't know how big the lecture halls usually are these days, but if they do overlap, you could theoretically have somebody in the lecture hall right next door responding to your activities over there and still showing up as being in the geofence. So that is possible that they're going to overlap, but they'll be just showing up as being in part of both of the geofences. But ideally, it's not going to be too big of a problem because the people that are actually in your classroom will probably be responding to your activities rather than somebody in the next classroom over responding to your activities. Oh, Alan's got a big question in here. Okay, let me read this one. From our early tests, 2 features seem limiting in this first release. Instructors seem to want to only have one location activated on per poll question basis, not for every activity. Okay. And instructors want to apply a specific location for a classroom on a per question basis. Okay, so sort of the same issue as was just mentioned before, where if the classrooms are overlapping, for example, or in another building across campus. Yeah, definitely. So that is some feedback that we've already gotten. I'm not sure that we don't currently have a solution for that, other than just if they're in the geofence and they're responding to the activity, it'll show up in the report. But there's not currently a way for us to do this on the activity level. It's for all of them or for nothing. But I do believe that this feedback has been taken for when we update it in the future. So if you guys do have any other feedback too, by all means, send them to your CSM. Your CSM is going to be your advocate to the product team to be able to take these feature requests. If there's anything where you're like, hey, this could be improved for our use case, just let them know, and they'll be able to take it over and champion for you so we can maybe implement some of these in our next iteration of in-person attendance, because this is our very first iteration and we're always open to change, right? So any way we can improve this, just let us know. Do students need to create their own accounts? Is there an SSO from Canvas to pull everywhere that will auto create them? Okay, so I'm not sure it's set up as anonymous, but when you import your users from a roster on the LMS, that creates the student account. So there's no, the SSO from the LMS does not create, like just logging into the SSO from there does not create the account. They have to be imported on a roster. Oh, how do I, sorry, bumped everything up. Okay. Oh, and rooms with multiple floors. Interesting. I don't believe we can actually account for multiple floors because we're not accounting for verticality. We're just like in like most satellite type stuff. It's only going off of latitude and longitude. That's a good question. I'm not sure if that's something we'd be able to implement in the future though. Can the attendance column created, that's added, combine multiple reports, or is it still one report is one column? So it's still going to be, Nicole, that's a great question. It's still going to be one report equals one column for the time being. So it would be, you'd want to have multiple activities in it, but it's still going to be one report, one column. Bill, you're correct. It did actually show it. So the report that shows the latitude and the longitude, if you want to see where, because otherwise it'll just say, were they in it or were they not? If you want to see the actual latitude and longitude, I believe that's the pivot table will give that. Let me just change the report type here. Click that and I'll click save. And then, bear with me. Oh, okay. I apologize. I misspoke. So it's not actually going to show the latitude, longitude. It just says attendance. Did they attend? Yes or no? Eric, keep me honest here. Was there another report type maybe that I'm forgetting here?
Let me unmute myself so I'm not talking to myself. No, it was the pivot table. You are correct.
Okay. I'm going to check one other thing for you. This is a great question. Let me just verify here. Let me just make sure it's not going to show up on here. Nope. It does not. So yeah, pivot table and gradebook will show whether or not they were in the geofence, but I apologize. It will not actually show the exact latitude and longitude. So if I load that up right here, it's just going to show that. Now I will show you, if you click on download on the CSV, it should open up and have a little bit more information on it. I'm just going to see if that's on there for you. What needs to be set on student devices for them to be able to check in? They just need to enable location services. I believe what will happen is that the application will ask, wow, it won't let me, one second, it's not letting me pull my window up to the other screen. Goodness gracious. Well, I can confirm that even the CSV does not actually show the latitude and longitude. So I apologize for that. But so for the students, it should pop up on their phone, tablet, whatever device it is, and say, Pull Everywhere would like to access your location. Do you want to give it permission? And just like most apps on your phone, if it's something that's asking for your location, you do have to give it permission for the location. So any plans to make the feature for the single column for attendance only? Nicole, I've been advocating for that one for quite some time. And I do believe, I don't know if it's on the roadmap yet, but we are in discussions about it. So definitely, my usual recommendation to folks currently is to run it either one big report at the end of the semester or just have like a weekly attendance thing where you just say, hey, all of the activities that we had for the week, or if you had, here's a bunch of attendance activities for the week, do it all in one report, and then you've got one column that's going to be your attendance for that week. That's usually how I recommend to break it down, but it's still a little cumbersome. I definitely understand. So that's something we are working on though. Thanks for bringing that. Let me just check on the Q&A activity. So does the geolocation from a participant's perspective, oh my goodness, I cannot speak right now, y'all. From a participant's perspective, differ if they're checking via Wi-Fi network versus through the cell phone? No, it should not be showing up any different. The only difference is going to be is accuracy. Sometimes I tend to find Wi-Fi being a little bit more accurate simply just because the connection's a little more stable. But most phone networks these days, especially 5G, is pretty on the spot. So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. All right, moving to the next one. Students having to register first, right? Okay, so we've already covered that one. But no, they don't have to register to be able to take it, to do the attendance. But if you're using this for any kind of a grade, please have them register first anyways. Otherwise, grading will be less than fun. It's accurate enough for classroom to classroom detection. It depends on the size of the classroom, really. It's because it's just a radius of a geofence. It's going to come down to that, really. You tell which students are checked in. So you won't be able to tell on your end while you're presenting. You will not be able to tell how many people have been checked in, for example. That will only show up in the reports. But maybe that's a good feature for in-person attendance 2.0. I like that, to be able to see how many people have checked in. All right, oh, there's mine. And then the checked in response. So how can the Canvas gradebook do a better job of managing attendance column and content in one column? I think that that's similar to Nicole's question. So right at the moment, it doesn't have a way for us to add or remove activities to a report. So you can't have sort of a rolling attendance thing. However, that is something that we're working on, to my understanding. So right at the moment, I just say batch your attendance into either weekly, monthly, however you prefer to do it semesterly. But that, depending on how many activities you run, that could be a very big report. So totally up to you on that one. My usual recommendation is to keep all of your attendance activities in one folder and then just report on all of them at the end on just that one folder at the end of the semester. That's usually my approach to it for the time being. Oh, that was all of it on the Q&A. Okay, but we've got more in the actual Zoom Q&A. So, can you get a recording? Yes, Chad. We'll be sending a recording out automatically. Once everything's wrapped up, it should be sending you to an email automatically. And even folks that had to bail early or anything like that, they should also be getting an email with the recording.
Sam, I also have a resource goodie bag put together specifically for in-person attendance for today's call. Would you like me to drop that in the chat for everybody now?
Oh my God, yes, please. You're a hero. Of course you have that. All right, so y'all, Eric should have something in the chat here
Yep.
momentarily.
Here we
There
go.
it is.
Just to give everybody a heads up what you can expect from this basically this Google Drive slide. Everything is a live link, so you have the in-person FAQ, everything you might need to know about our in-person attendance feature directly from our website. You'll have a link to the in-person user guide, so you know exactly what you need to do to set it up. I've also, oh, it says chat is disabled. Oh, hold on one second. Sam, are you able to open that up or no?
Oh, yeah, it should
Thank you,
say
Sam.
when you do that, it should say to everyone or to hosts and panelists. So when you dropped it, it said to hosts and panelists. So let
Yeah,
me drop it to everyone.
thank you.
There we go. Can everybody see that one? Let us know in the Q&A if you still can't see it. I'm sorry. If nothing else, I do believe we can send it in the follow-up as well.
Oh, great. Got it now. So the other thing I also wanted to
All
mention while I was getting my wrap here, you'll also have links to our YouTube channel, which has also live demos of this as well. You have our registration links for any upcoming trainings. You have all the support contact information in case you may need it. And then also links to the support guide and the self-guided training. So everything you will need for in-person attendance will be on that sheet. If anybody else needs it, please let us know. But that should be good for all resources. And again, you are going to receive a copy of today's call after we're done with today's session.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just answering. There's one last question here in the chat. I'm just going to answer regarding what I meant by folders. When I was meaning for the attendance in one folder, I meant for all of your attendance activities to be created in one Poll Everywhere folder. And then that way, when you go to report to Canvas, it's all in one folder because currently we cannot report across folders. So just keep all your attendance stuff in one folder, and that'll make it a lot easier when you're saying, hey, I just want to have one big attendance column. Let's see. Oh, yep, and it was in here too. Okay. I think that was everything. We've got quite a bit of time. That was definitely not a very long long webinar. So if anybody else has any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask them. We've got some time. So if you've got any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop them in and we'll be hanging out here. See, well, oh, okay, there we go. Now I can clear out those ones. Chad, I'm glad to hear it. That's one of the things we've been hearing a lot from folks is that they really wanted an attendance feature instead of having to use just an activity and use that as some sort of an attendance feature because it required a lot of hoops to be jumped through. So it's quite nice to have this now. I agree. Um, Jonathan, oh, hi, Jonathan. Yes, we'll be sending a copy of the webinar out, and I believe you should be able to share that recording with anybody. Uh, does not mean one folder in POLEV can be imported in one column. Oh, okay. So what I'm meaning for that here, let me see if I can, maybe this will better illustrate it. What I mean by that would be, for example, if I had, oh goodness, I don't know what's in this. So if I click on this, if I were to say, hey, maybe this one folder, let's just say if this folder was called attendance activities and I went in here and all of my attendance activities were in here, I could just report on all of them in this and then have my attendance column at the end of the semester, end of the week, however I wanted to run it. But I wouldn't be able to, for example, if I had them all in separate folders in here, I would not be able to run a report on them if they're all living in different folders. The hoops are still there if you want to grade attendance. Yes, to a degree, they are still there because the attendance and the registration and the correctness are all siloed. Yes, and the firewall is a possibility of a concern for sure. Like I said, if your firewall is so strict that it blocks the location services and everything, please, reach out to support. We'll see if there's anything that needs to be whitelisted on, for example, campus networks, and we can go ahead and work through that there. But this is all really good feedback, and these are use cases that we're going to run into. Should you contact your school's courseware support team to request? Shannon, yes. So if you don't currently, if you're on a free account and you want to see if your university has a Pull Everywhere account, you can definitely reach out to your school's courseware support. You can reach out to our support as well. We can also take a look and see. I would definitely recommend reaching out internally first. They're probably going to have the best answer for you because sometimes it's some of our integrations are managed accounts, or sometimes for department wide only. Sometimes it's like, hey, only the biology department got approved for this. So you might need permission before they add you. So that's definitely something to reach out to them about. But if you still have any questions, our support team is always available as well. Oh, I just realized I didn't have the Q&A open still. Huh. Let me get that back up. There we go. Let me sort this by.
Sam, I'm so sorry. Did you answer Shannon's question just a moment ago?
I did.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure I didn't miss it.
Oh, yep. Let me. Sorry, I'm just gonna click the ones that I got. Sorry, y'all. I'm such a newbie when it comes to the Q&A on Zoom. Is there ever a grade attached to the attendance column? So the attendance column is completely separate from the grade column. So you could, if you wanted to do a qualifier where they have to have the attendance as yes and they need to have the grade, generally for that you might want to do some extra finagling if that's not already, if you look at the report and there's people that have maybe only one or the other, that could get a little bit difficult to parse, I think, because if somebody gets something incorrect, then that might be a problem. Usually my recommendation is to go in and download as a CSV if you want to say, hey, you get a 0 if you get nothing for attendance, but you want to grade the correctness. So you would want to download it as a CSV, sort it by did they attend or did they not attend, and anybody that shows as not being attended, delete their information, whether it was correct or not, out of the CSV, and then upload that into your LMS. And then that way, anybody that was not actually in attendance doesn't get credit for what they did or did not get correct. Excuse me. So we have 10 attendances in one folder. When I import it in Canvas, it still creates 10 columns. No. So if you do all 10 attendance, it's by report. So if you did all 10 of those activities in one report, it's only going to give you one column. If you did report on them separately, then yes, if each activity got its own report, then yes, it's going to end up getting multiple columns within Canvas. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Let me just take a look on here and see I don't see anything new. If you checked in, you get an incorrect answer, your attendance would still be 100. Yes, because you attended and you responded, even if your response was not correct, because you attended. It's purely based on were you there. So attendance is purely were you there. Participation is did you participate, and then correctness is did you get it correct. So it all sort of depends on how you're wanting to grade people on. Sometimes folks want to have the correctness there, but they're really just like, are people engaging in things? So they really look at the participation score. Some of it says, I just want them to be there. And then that in that case, you'd look at the attendance. And then the correctness would be, I don't care if they're there or not. If they get it correct, then that's it. And then you'd look at the grade. If you want to start using several of them tangentially, usually my recommendation, one thing I've seen is that folks will have an attendance export and then they'll weight the grade book column. And I'm not sure how to do this. I don't know Canvas quite well enough to do this, for example, but then they'll weight the column and say, this is an attendance column, therefore it's only going to be worth maximum of, we'll say 10 points. And then they'll also export a grade column or a grade version of the same report and say, all right, now this one in a new report column, this one's going to be worth 20 points, things like that. So you can weight it on the Canvas end or the LMS end to be worth X amount of points. The only downside is that if you're exporting multiple parameters like that, you'd end up with 3 columns for the same report effectively, or however many of those parameters you're wanting to export. Any other questions?
I just want to take a pulse check with you folks. I see a couple raised hands in the attendees list. I see Chad has a hand raised, Sonia has a hand raised, Roxanne has a hand raised. Just want to make sure we're getting to you folks. Did we drop those questions in the chat already? I see some hands going down, so we might have done that. Just want to make sure we're not skipping anybody.
Oh, it looks like that's all of them. All right, everybody. Well, if there's no other questions for right now, I'm happy to give y'all 18 minutes back. Hooray. So I'll give y'all back some time. If you have any other questions, please reach out to your success manager, reach out to support. We're always happy to be a resource. You will get an email with this recording, and I believe it'll also send the goodie bag, or Eric might send that out separately. So you all have a copy of the goodie bag, as well as the deck. So everybody's going to get all the resources that you need here. And yeah, I think that's it. So I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, have a great week, and we'll see you around.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.